Hello and welcome to the Keep It Spiritual show and podcast with myself, Kris Meredith. Now, it's great to have your company today, and this is a bit of a special video because I thought with everything that's going on in the world with the coronavirus, the kind of thing that I do when I feel kind of not myself, I feel worried about the future, I always go to a psychic or a medium just for a reading to help myself feel a little bit more secure and kind of knowing what's going to happen in my future. So I thought, who best to sit down with and have a talk to and talk through all my questions I've got with the coronavirus? Who's better than the lovely Queen Anne? Yes, Oldham's Queen Anne, the beautiful Anne Scholes, TV's psychic and medium. I really hope you enjoyed this special video, and I really hope it brings you a heightened vibration as well and you feel a little bit lifted after this video and podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe as well. Make sure you click that bell above there to make sure you do not miss a video. But from myself, I really hope this brings you a little bit of comfort and calm. Here is the beautiful Anne Scholes. Anne Scholes, first of all, for me, I wanted to speak to you today, and I wanted to do this special video because, you know, there's a lot of worry in the world, a lot of anxiety as well. And for me personally, when I'm kind of not feeling myself and I don't really know what's going to happen, I always go to a psychic or a medium. And for me right now, there is no one better to go to than Queen Anne. So first of all, Anne Scholes, how are you dealing with all this coronavirus stuff?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say blessings, namaste to all our listeners and viewers. It's lovely to be here. Yes, Kris, it's all I'm hearing is people saying we are living in strange times because this isn't the norm, is it? And many people are getting anxious, stressed, having to change. Now, the most important thing to remember is that when any of us have to change something, we're on unfamiliar territory and we don't like it because it means we're stepping outside our comfort zone. So the first thing with change is to try and allow yourself to go a little bit more with the flow. It sort of breaks down that rigidity and that structure. You know, mums who get up, get the kids to school, then go out to work, come back, pick the kids up, make the tea. They're in a structure. Most people have some kind of routine. This has completely destroyed our routine whatsoever. But the most important thing to think is to think about their ultimate safety for themselves and for their older members of the family and of the community. So acting responsibly is what we need to do. But as far as in the home, it's about keeping yourself entertained. It's about keeping yourself busy. For me, at the moment, I'm loving it because I've cleaned the house from top to bottom like a complete whiz. I should have been in an advert.
Should have had a video on that.
Oh, I tell you what, climbing up on my mother's commode to clean the windows, you don't want to see it really, you know, you just don't. It's been, you know, and the thing is I've had to close my holistic centre. So that arm of the business has just gone pop, nothing there. So I'm sort of now making videos and asking people, do they want to do some spiritual learning on a one-to-one with me, and I can slot that in. I'm only charging £25 an hour, whether it's teaching tarot, whether it's meditation, whether it's readings at that, £25 for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So I'm kind of just covering off the business angle because I do need to survive. Unfortunately, I'm like everybody else. I'm not lucky enough to work for somebody that get my wage paid. I'm, as I say, self-employed, so I've got to make it fit. So I'm keeping myself busy. I'm also caring more for my mum because I live with my mum. So I'm doing some of the district nurses work because she has insulin at certain times of the day, so I've taken over a couple of those, making a tea for the carers because the carers are coming in, and so I'm a little bit like juggling all the balls at the moment, in many ways. But you know, listening to my family, what we're doing is we're every other day we're all getting on FaceTime.
Yeah.
And we're all chatting. My brother's been seriously ill. He's now on the mend. So it's good to see him every couple of days out there in Canada. My youngest daughter is at university, but they're not in. So she said to me this morning, does anybody else feel a bit down this morning? So it's a case of, get on the phone, are you okay? And I think that's the clue, isn't it? It's listening. It's teaching us to listen to what people are saying, and if you can help in some way, then help. This is about us all now. It is interesting, if I can start at the beginning with this coronavirus as a part of the bigger picture, Kris, that's going on.
Yeah.
This change all started back in 2008, 2009 with the banks. And that radically changed the way things were done. And then we got all the paedophilia with celebrities and things like that, and all that truth came out. Then we went to, there's been lots of other things. We've had things like FIFA, but things being in FIFA uncovered, the Me Too movement that's going on. And basically, we are moving from a period in time right through to 2033, which is complete transformation. Now, depending on how good we are at transforming, depends how long it takes. And as we can see with this coronavirus, it's taking some people quite a while to get their head around it. For me, spiritually, what my guides are saying, this is a massive leveling. We are not treating people equally, whether it be gender guidelines being, men paid more than men or whatever. There isn't an equality in all sorts and all manner of things in the planet, our Mother Earth. And what they're trying to do is that the lies and deception that we've been fed and the fears that are put out there, they're trying to eradicate. It's being brought to the surface. It's floating to the top for people to be seen and things to be seen, governments around the world, that kind of thing, in the truth of the light, basically. And to try and shift the power to the people to make the governments work for them, not keep them suppressed. Or, do you know what I mean?
That's what it is, isn't it? Right there. I mean, it is, because everything to this moment has kind of been working against us, hasn't it? Now, like you were saying, leveling right there, that's a great word, because everything is, hopefully going to become equal and everyone's going to be in the same boat. But we are right now, aren't we?
We are. And the ego and the selfishness and the greed is now going to be highlighted even more. And people will be named and shamed. And people need to start to take responsibility. We are born into this world to take spiritual responsibility for our actions. We get into cause and effect. What one person can do can affect somebody else. And to give more thought, kindness and consideration and compassion to our brothers and sisters in this planet. And whilst there are a lot of people, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that do a lot of fantastic stuff, we are not making the progress we should be doing in this bigger picture transition. And Mother Earth herself is actually saying, well, actually, I need a breather. And now you've got no aeroplanes in the sky for pollution. You've got a fraction of the cars on the road, only the essentials. You've got all these different things now, less polluting, the air quality getting better, people not under as much stress in a different sort of way. And I think it's really important that we have this little breather to basically press the reset button and go, all right, let's go back to our priorities. It's not about having a bigger house than somebody else or a bigger car than somebody else. And you get into that, you get railroaded, don't you, into that materialistic competition.
the world has been, Anne, really, isn't it? I
Mm.
mean, everything has been really materialistic. I mean, I always think, there's some people that are quite spiritual and kind of that's a kind of wealth and their journey, or you've got people that money talks and everything is about money. And for me, all this right now, it's kind of, yes, we've got to go through it, but it's not too scary because I kind of think, no, we're going to be all right. It's got to happen. It's a need. And like you were saying there about, Mother Earth, pressing that pause button,
Yeah,
it needed to happen more
it
than
did.
anything because, there's animals going back to places like in Venice where they've never been for years and years and years. The water pollution's clear, the ozone layer's repairing. There's
It
so much
is.
positivity coming out of this time when we're just, inside watching TV, doing whatever we're doing, but we're giving the outside a chance to repair, and it's needed, isn't it?
Oh, it's greatly needed. And I know, sadly, that, we've had things like the bushfires, which they lost a lot of animals and that. And usually through great times of stress and change, there is always going to be pain, suffering, and loss. We know that. But it does come back, but it's to come back in a different way of looking at things, a different way. If each individual does not change its habits after this, we're not learning. We're
Yeah.
just not learning, and we have to. I mean, I go to the universal laws. There are quite a lot of them, but 12 main universal laws. The number one is the universal law of oneness, of unity, of being at one, learning to be at one with yourself. And this is the time now, if you're stressed and anxious, it's about learning how to connect your mind, body, and spirit. And when you connect all three, you are in a much better place.
Mm.
You feel that you're worthwhile. It brings back that loving sense of self and your purpose for being here.
Mm.
And so, without going through them all, I would say to people who are watching or listening this, go Google the 12 laws of the universe and read them. Take time to read them. And basically, it is just about being kind, good, raising vibration, which I'm really into. The law of attraction. Everybody takes the law of attraction in isolation, but it's not. There's the other 11 laws there that we need to consider. People do that to make money or whatever. There's more than that, because
Mm.
when you make that money, you have to have a moral code with it and what you do with it.
Yeah.
So, I just feel at the moment there is a higher purpose going on here, and it's part of our journey, and we need to move with it, and we need to read and understand and act it out as individuals and be responsible for our own actions. And people will start to feel so much better. And once we're through this, which we will get through this, we will, like you said, we won't be the same. We will look at things differently again, and we'll do things hopefully differently
We will
again.
have, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, it's we are going to be changed from this, and hopefully it will be for the better, won't it? Because we've had time to, whenever we've had time to retreat, and where work has really come to a standstill, the whole
Yeah,
world really has come to a standstill. We've not had this. I've obviously in my lifetime I've never had it, and yours probably not either. Anything as
no,
big as this, but it's a great chance, for a positive step forward, isn't it? Don't feed into the fear. I mean, like myself personally, I try, not watch the news all the time, and I'm reading spiritual books, reading about my chakras, raising, my vibration, and thinking, okay, well, when this is over, how can I be better? And I
yeah.
think that's a big message for people watching and listening, is kind of, okay, well, I was this person before, how can I be a better person after this?
I mean, you take it down to, what we start at the beginning, absolutely the supermarkets and shoving stuff in the trolleys without any consideration for any, the older generation who couldn't get out or whatever. And it was just appalling and
Mm.
shameful. And I'm really appalled to say I'm part of the human race because of this. But now what they're doing, they're making everybody queue, stand the distance. Now we've got the heads around it. And now take your time. Do you really need this? I saw the other day in the newspaper people chucking out full loaves of bread that obviously was out of date and they'd obviously bought too much. It's not necessary.
Yeah.
There is enough to go around in this world, and we have to lose the me first attitude, you know. And it's so important in this. I think there's a big role to play with that. Thinking, just stopping and thinking for a minute. When people come into my holistic centre, I say, "How are you?" And they go, "I'm fine." And I go, "No, how are you really?" And they go, "I can't do that." No. Then we get the tissues out, and because that's what's lying underneath that first initial greet or meeting of somebody. We don't know what's going through on people's lives.
It's like a mask, Anne, isn't it? It's like
it
people,
is like a mask. Yeah.
wore a mask, and it's kind of, before you go out, like when you go out to the world, you've got to put this front on, because it's what everyone expects. It's what the world wants. It's what your boss wants. It's what your friends want. And rather than, taking that mask off and letting people, know really what is going on, now hopefully will be the time when people can think, actually, I'm going to take that mask off. This is who I really am.
And bosses have a responsibility. We're hearing of companies making people go into work that are frightened and stressed and laying people off for no reason, because there's government grants and availability there for them. And these people need to think about, they're the ones that got into this greed track and pushing other human beings to do things, when if actually they took an hour out to sit that person down and show them some compassion and show them some love and understanding, the problem might go away a lot quicker and a lot easier than just dismissing them and getting somebody else in,
So it totally would, Anne. And I think for myself, when I look back like through my life and doing normal like jobs, like done cabin crew, I've worked in a bank, I've worked in retail, I've done so many jobs, always with people, but I've always struggled with that kind of authority, of that control over myself. And that's one thing I've always kind of, butted heads with, had arguments with, sometimes it's never ended too well, because that restraint of that company and of that person, of that mindset, I've always really struggled to kind of like, how can somebody be like that?
Yeah.
But for me, I think, I'm a different kind of person. I'm a bit more of a spiritual being rather than that corporate kind of side where, I love the love and light.
But the sad thing is, Kris, the two can go hand in hand. It doesn't have to be like that. And this is what we need to wake up to. It doesn't need to be like that. It needs to, when 0 hours contracts came out at first, everybody went bananas.
Yeah.
And I watched a program and there was a live audience and there was quite a lot of people on 0 hours. And quite a lot of them enjoy it now because they've adapted to building it around their family and they're happier within themselves. So it doesn't need to be, the corporates against. It needs to say, where is the harmony? Where is the line that we can work with each other? Because you know what? You have a happy workforce. You'll do great guns, because a happy workforce will pull out all the stops when you need them to pull out the stops. But if you're constantly battering them down and you need them to help you in some way, they're not going to do it because of the way they've been treated.
Well, it's human nature. It is respect. And I think, regardless of what, people's name tags say and what their pay is at the end of the month, at the end of the day, when all that's taken away, like some people now, no one's better than anyone. We're all the same.
We are all the same. And through this very difficult time, we are going to find cures for other ailments and diseases because of the way they're unlocking stuff at the minute. There will be some really, truly magnificent things discovered through the year that are coming in. And that will bring a change in the disease and the medicine and control. So that's something. There will always be amazing things come out of dire situations. So we've got a lot to look forward to. Changes, if people change their attitude, the way we do things, just slow things down a little bit. I've seen it horrendously in my holistic centre, the amount of young men and women that come in that are so struggling with mental health, and I am not qualified to diagnose anything, but I know I think in 1 week I sent 4 people to the walk-in centre to just go and sit and talk to someone, because they just didn't know what to do. They didn't want to tell their family. One girl didn't want to tell her family. And I said, have you got a best friend that will go with you? And she went, I don't want to tell anybody, because she felt so, at odds with it. So I said, look, I can even close the shop and come with you. And she went, no, I will do it. I said, you promise me? And she came in last week. It was really nice. And she said, you don't remember me, do you? And I said, I was struggling. She said, the girl, she was upset that day because of the mental health thing that was going on. And I said, yes. She says, come in to say thank you. She said, because you actually made me do it. And she said, I said, and was your mum all right? She said, my mum was brilliant. I said, see, I told you she would be. But at that point in time, they're not listening. They're so consumed with it. So we do have to be more aware of people's mental states, especially over the coming weeks and months, to support people. And it's part of our responsibility as human beings. We weren't meant, when we were born, we were not meant to be an island. We were just not. And so we need to interact and get on and love and be compassionate and kind. I've had lovely stories where, because as a psychic, obviously I get lots of people asking questions about grandparents who's fallen out with their sons and daughters over the grandchildren because they don't think they're doing it the right way and blah, blah, blah. And I had some lovely phone calls from people telling me that their son has picked up the phone and said, hi, mum and dad, are you okay? And let's put the children on the line and have a chat. And these are the things that are so precious, aren't they? That families can reunite. I mean, Kris, for God's sake, it was only 6 months less. We were tearing shreds out of one another because you were either a Remainer or a Brexiteer. And we were knocking one another out black and blue, weren't we? Families were like, you're on that side, you're on that side. And it was worse than a Liverpool-Manchester United match, you know what I mean? And now here we are,
I know,
completely reversed, trying to help all these people that are vulnerable.
but
That's how quickly we can do it.
Absolutely love about it, Anne, as well. And one thing, really positive thing about this situation, where you were talking before about balance, all the NHS workers, people that work in supermarkets, care workers, police, all those kind of people that we take for granted and we don't really say thank you to. It's come evident now that these people doing these jobs, we would not be able to do what we do, be able to live without these people. And it's shown how important they are, to us. And that's one positive thing and one beautiful thing, people supporting one another. I know it's not a great time, but when we come through it, I think a lot of people would have done ourselves proud. And it's a positive thing to take from this. I don't know what you think about that, Anne, but I really, really think it has been.
Well, living with my mum, who is bedbound and has chronic diseases, I've got the care. We have 2 carers 4 times a day coming in. And those guys are walking into vulnerable homes, trying to keep themselves safe from catching it, because they've got their own families too. But they are increasingly do more and more because more and more people need assistance, and they are run ragged, and they do it for a pittance, and I look at them and I go, take my hat off to you, because they come in and they walk in and it's, hi Christina, they say to me, mum, how are you feeling? Straight eye contact, straight bubbly, nice energy, and if there's anything, they're on it. So those are those people, like the district nurses that come out, the people that are having to go into people's homes because of necessity, they should all get a medal. I just take my hat off to them. I do my bit. I can't say I would become a full-time carer, but yeah, it is about showing respect for these people, And you've got some hideous situation, the police that having to go out there and tell people to move on, and the abuse that they're getting. I mean, really?
I know.
That's where I would say name and shame. I'm sorry, name and shame.
Yeah, definitely, and that's it. I mean, but hopefully, it's kind of thing like now's the time to, if you're a person to do something like that, don't do it. Simple as that. Don't do it. There's better things to come, and leave that part of your personality behind, and go forward because they're obviously doing such a great job. Well, and what guidance or words of wisdom have you got? Being a psychic and a medium, for our future.
Well, first of all, I would just like to say, as a medium, I would like to reassure people because our loved ones are passing over a phenomenal rate at the moment, and they're not going to be able to be with them in those last moments. They're not going to be given that time. And that adds to the distress. But I just wanted to remind people that there is always someone in spirit side to bring them over. They don't cross on their own. Physically, they do because you're not there, but spiritually, their loved ones will be there to take them across, and they know that they're coming over. So just to make people feel at ease, because I deal with a lot of people who feel very guilty that they didn't make it to somebody's passing or they passed on their own or whatever. So just to reassure people from that point of view, hopefully it won't happen to a lot of us. We're just, hopefully they can curb this a little bit, flatten this spike out or whatever. But to remember that they are not left to cross on their own. And I hope that brings a little bit of comfort to people in a time of sadness, great sadness. Words of wisdom from me. Oh, there's one. But it's constant. Give yourself the time to invest in yourself spiritually. Find your spiritual awareness. Connect with it. It's part of you. You have an emotional body. You have a physical body. You have a spiritual body. And even if it means looking for a faith to get you through, I'm a great believer, I always have been, no matter what that faith is, you sometimes in need of crisis, you need something to believe in to get you through. So don't think you're on your own either. If you feel that you're not coping, please reach out to somebody, no matter who it is, the postman walking by, because everybody knows somebody that can do something. That's the beauty of us, yeah?
They definitely do, Anne.
Everybody knows somebody that can do something. So I suppose my message would be reach out. Don't suffer in silence. Don't find yourself isolated that you, to the point, pick up a phone and even have a good cry down the phone to somebody that will listen. Strangers, we've got the Samaritans, they listen, just people are good listeners, and now is the time for us that are getting calls like that to listen. You don't have to pass judgment. You don't have to give them any advice. Just listen, and you'll find that will make them feel so much better in the long run.
Oh, Anne, love you so much. Well, Anne, we'll say goodbye for that. And I'm going to say, Anne, thank you for coming on the Keep It Spiritual show and podcast once again. But thank you for putting my mind at ease as well. And I wish you so much love and light, and obviously keep healthy for yourself and your family as well.
And I would just like to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to discuss this, because it's something I'm very passionate about. And, you and your lovely little dog and your lovely partner, you all keep safe and well. And it's been a sheer pleasure. And thank you for having me back. Loving it. Mwah. Oh, could I just pull a card for everybody?
Please do, Anne. Please do.
For the nation.
For the nation.
For the world.
Yes.
Yeah, for the world, yeah.
Yes.
I've got a lovely set of angel cards here, and I thought it would be really nice to pull a card for everyone. Angel of New Beginnings.
Ah, beautiful card, Anne. Beautiful.
So where there are endings, there are doors opening and new beginnings, and looking out, and the future is bright. As you can see, they're looking out through the sky to the sunlight. So there are new beginnings around us, just like spring brings new beginnings. So remember that. Lots of love and namaste, Kris.
Namaste, Anne. Thank you, sweetie.
Bye for now.
There we are. I hope you feel a little bit better from that video. Anne's great, isn't she? She really, really is. If you'd like a reading with Anne, all her details are underneath right now. Go and check her out because she is fabulous. And I really hope that really brought a little bit of calm to your day as well. Make sure you like and subscribe this video, and make sure as well you tell all your friends about it, and you share as well, because about sharing positivity, that's what it's all about. Now, until the next video, I've been Kris Meredith, and remember, keep it spiritual. See you later.